Good morning and welcome to Live Without Limits. Unlock your potential, the ultimate blueprint to transform your mindset. I'm your host, Davida Shinsky, and I'm so excited to dive in today's topic because it's one thing so many of us struggle with: saying no. Now, we think of self care, we often picture spa days, relaxing with a good book, or treating ourselves to something nice. But here's the truth: one of the most powerful forms of self care is learning how to say no. Why? Because every time we say yes to something that drains us, takes us away from our priorities, or makes us feel overwhelmed, we're actually saying no to our own well being. And if you've ever found yourself feeling overcommitted, exhausted, or even resentful to your obligations, chances are you might be saying yes to too much. So, in this episode, we're going to break down why saying no is so hard, the biggest misconceptions about it, and how embracing the power of no can completely transform your life. So, why saying no is isn't easy, or rather, for most of us, it feels uncomfortable. It can bring up feelings of guilt, anxiety, or even fear. But why is that? Well, for one thing, we're conditioned from an early age to be agreeable. Think about it. Growing up, we were told to be polite, to share, to help others, and to not disappoint people. While these are great values, they can also create a mindset where we'll feel obligated to please others at our own expense. Another big reason is the fear of disappointing others. Nobody likes to feel like they're letting someone down, especially people who care about, like our friends, family, bosses, or colleagues. We worry that saying no will make people think that we're rude, selfish, or unhelpful. And then there's the fear of missing out, FOMO. Sometimes we say and yes to things because we don't want to miss out of an opportunity, a fun event, or something that might be beneficial to the long run. For the problem is, if we say yes to everything, we're not making choices. We're just reacting. Now, think about it. How often have you put yourself in a position where you said yes to something? Remember this: in the workplace, if you work in a corporation, managers are taught that they need to delegate. But if it doesn't fit your personality and it's not something that you want to do, it may not be the right project for you. Or if you're self employed and you wear all the hats, what happens? You're so overextended that you get burnt out. Therefore, you need to learn to say no, and you need to learn how to delegate to others things that you don't enjoy doing, but make sure it's something that they enjoy doing. The misconceptions around saying no. There are so many myths about saying no that I want to be clear in a few of them, and they are: misconception number one, saying no is selfish. This is one of the biggest lies to tell ourselves. But think about it. If you say no, if you say yes to things that leave you feeling drained or resentful, how can you show up as your best self for the people you truly care about? Saying no isn't selfish. It's a way of making sure that you have the energy and mental space for the things that you truly matter to you. Misconception number two, saying no will make people dislike you. Here's the reality: most people won't be upset if you say no in a respectful way. In fact, people who truly respect you will appreciate your honesty. And those who do get upset, they are probably the ones benefiting from your lack of boundaries. And that's another thing that we need to be aware of. We all need boundaries, and we need to learn how to set those boundaries. Misconception number three, if I say no, I'll miss out on something great. I get it. And here's something to consider. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your priorities, you're saying no to something else. Maybe you're saying no to rest, to your personal goals, or to qualify for quality time with loved ones. Saying no isn't about missing out. It's about making sure what you say yes to is intentional and aligned with your values. Now, here's another thing that I want to say about that. That often when you feel inferior to someone else or you have low self-esteem, that you will try to do things that other people are doing that doesn't align with your goals, because you have to prove to yourself that you're as good as they are. But remember this, that is not true. All of us are equal. And it's a matter of how you feel about yourself, because the people around you have told you constantly and constantly that you're worthless. And when they do that, what's happening? They are trying to make themselves feel better because they feel inferior to you. So that what's happening is they are trying to sabotage you from achieving your goals. Now, let's talk about some personal anecdotes or stories related to the power of no. Now, I want to share a quick personal story about how learning to say no changed my life. A while back, I used to say yes to everything. I wanted to be helpful, reliable, and someone could count on me. I was constantly agreeing to extra projects at work, attending every social event, and helping people with their problems until I realized something. I was exhausted. I had no time for myself. I wasn't making progress on my own goals. And worst of all, I started feeling resentful towards the very people I was trying to help. It hit me one day when I agreed to take on yet another project at work that even though I was already overwhelmed, that night I was up past midnight, stressed out and anxious, while the person who assigned me the task was probably sleeping peacefully. That's when I realized I was prioritizing other people's needs over my own well being. So I started small. The next time someone asked me to do something that I truly didn't have the capacity for, I said no. And guess what? The world didn't end. They figured out another solution, and I didn't have to sacrifice my peace. And from there, things started changing. Saying no gave me more time, more energy, and more control over my own life. And it can be the same for you. The transformative benefits of saying no. Now that we've talked about why saying no is so hard and the misconceptions around it, let's dive into what happens when you start embracing the power of no. Now, saying no isn't just about rejecting things. It's about protecting your time, your energy, and your happiness. So, what we're going to be doing is going into the incredible benefits that come with setting boundaries, plus some practical strategies on how to say no without guilt. Why we struggle to say no. Saying no seems like it should be simple, right? But for so many of us, it's one of the hardest things to do. And that's because we're not just rejecting a request, we're battling a lifetime of conditioning, expectations, and internal fears. Let's break it down into four major reasons why saying no feels so uncomfortable. The fear of disappointing others, social conditioning, and people pleasing tendencies, fear of missing out, and guilt from cultural expectations. Let's start with the big one, the fear of disappointing others. Here, have you ever been asked to do something that you didn't want to do, but you said no anyway because you didn't want to let someone down? Let's say it this way. You said yes. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I was thinking no when I should have said yes. Okay, so let's say this again. That you said yes anyway because you didn't want to let someone down. Maybe a friend invited you to an event when you were exhausted, or your boss asked you to take on another project when you were already overloaded. I didn't want to do it, but the thought of them feeling disappointed made me say yes. This happens because we naturally crave approval. We want to be seen as reliable, helpful, and supportive. But here's the thing, if saying yes means sacrificing your own well being, who's really being disappointed in this end? Every time you say yes just to avoid disappointing someone else, you're saying no to yourself. And while it's great to be a caring and helpful person, that shouldn't come as the cost of your own peace. Here's a mindset shift to remember: disappointing others is sometimes necessary to avoid disappointing yourself. The right people who truly care about you will understand and respect your boundaries. Now, let's talk about social conditioning and people pleasing tendencies. From the time we're kids, we're taught to be polite, cooperative, and agreeable. We're told things like, be nice, don't be selfish, do what makes others happy. And while these are great lessons in kindness, they can also send the message that saying no is rude or unacceptable. Over time, this can turn into a people pleasing behavior pattern. You start saying yes out of habit because you don't want to seem unhelpful or unkind. But let's be real. Being a people pleaser is exhausting. It drains your energy, takes away your time, and often leads to resentment. So here's a question to ask yourself: am I saying yes because I genuinely want to, or because I feel like I have to? If the answer is the second one, then that's a sign that it's time to start unlearning the idea that saying no is wrong. Saying no isn't being rude, it's respecting your own needs. Now, we can't talk about why saying no is hard without mentioning the fear of missing out, or FOMO. Sometimes we say yes not because we want to, but because we're afraid of missing an opportunity. This could be anything from attending an event just because everyone else is going, taking on a new project because it might lead to something great, saying yes to a commitment just in case we regret saying no later. FOMO makes us think that saying no means losing out. But here's a perspective shift. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your priorities, you're saying no to something else. Saying yes to a social event when you're exhausted. Saying no to rest. Saying yes to an extra task at work. Saying no to time with your family. Saying yes to a project that doesn't excite you is saying no to working on your own personal goals. Instead of making decisions based on fear, start making them based on what truly serves you. If something isn't a hell yes, then maybe it's a no. Let's talk about guilt and cultural expectations. For many of us, saying no feels wrong because of how we were raised or the cultural values we were taught. For some families, you're expected to always say yes to helping others, especially elders or authority figures. In some workplaces, you might feel pressure to always be the go-to person, no matter how exhausted you are. The guilt makes it feel like saying no is a betrayal of our responsibilities to relationships or even our identity. So here's the truth: saying no doesn't make you a bad friend, family member, or employee. Saying no doesn't mean you're selfish. It means you're self aware. Saying no doesn't mean you don't have care. It means you're choosing to care for yourself. If you struggle with the guilt, try reframing it in this way: by saying no, I'm making room for what truly matters. And by prioritizing myself, I can actually show up better for the people I care about. Guilt fades when you realize that faking care or yourself is not a bad thing. It's necessary. So, if saying no has felt difficult for you, know that you're not alone. You're, we've all been conditioned in different ways to believe that saying no is wrong, when in reality, it's one of the greatest sets of self care. Now that we've talked about the why saying no is so hard, let's get into how saying no can actually transform your life. So, now that we've talked about why saying no is so hard, let's talk about the incredible benefits that come from embracing it. Because here's the truth: every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying yes to something better. Let's go through 5 powerful ways that saying no can completely transform your life. It increases your self respect and confidence. It gives you more time and energy for things that truly matter. It strengthens your relationships. It reduces stress and burnout. It helps you gain control over your life, direction. So let's break it down. Increased self respect and confidence. Saying no to the direct acts of self respect. It means you value your time, your energy, and your boundaries. Think about someone you deeply respect, maybe a mentor, a leader, or someone you admire. Do you think that person says yes to everything? Of course not. They know their limits, they prioritize their goals, and they say no when something doesn't align with their values. When you start saying no, something powerful happens. You begin to trust yourself more. You, you realize that you don't need to say yes to be liked. You see that your worth isn't based on how much you do for others. You start to make choices that align with your true desires rather than out of obligation. And over time, this builds confidence, because when you know what you stand for and you're not afraid to protest your boundaries. You carry yourself differently. Here's a question for you. What would you do if you had more time? Would you finally start that project that you've been putting off? Spend more quality time with loved ones. Take better care of your mental and physical health. The reality is, most people aren't short on time. They're overcommitted. Saying yes to things that don't serve you is like leaving too many tabs open on your computer. Everything slows down. You feel exhausted, stretched thin, and like you're constantly running out on empty. But when you start saying no to unnecessary commitments, distractions, and things that don't align with your priorities, something amazing happens. You gain time and energy for what truly matters instead of spending hours doing things out of obligation. You get to invest your time in what brings you joy, fulfillment, and growth. So ask yourself, what's one thing that you've been saying yes to that's draining your energy? And what could you say yes to instead? Now, you might be thinking, won't saying no hurt the relationship? And my answer is the opposite is true. Saying no actually strengthens your relationships. When you set boundaries, you teach people how to treat you. When you stop overcommitting, you show up more fully with the people you truly care about. When you respect your own limits, others learn to respect them too. Think about it. Do you really want relationships that are built on guilt, obligation, or resentment? Or do you want relationships that are based on mutual respect and honesty? Healthy connections don't require you to overextend yourself just to keep people happy. The right people will respect you when you say no. And for those who don't, well, that tells you that something about the nature of that relationship. So instead of fearing that saying no will push people away, remind yourself that it's actually a way to build stronger, healthier relationships with those who truly matter. Let's be real. Burnout is real. And for so many people, it doesn't come from doing things they love. It comes from doing so much of what you don't love. Overcommitting to work because you're afraid to say no to your boss leads to stress and exhaustion. Saying yes to every social event, even when you need rest, leads to feeling drained. Taking on responsibilities that aren't even yours leads to resentment and frustration. When you stop saying yes to everything, you create breathing room on in your life. And that, right, okay, that's where peace, charity, and creativity live. So saying no isn't about just boundaries, it's about protecting your mental and emotional health. Let's talk about one of the most powerful benefits of saying no, taking control of your own life. If you don't see and set boundaries, other people will decide how you spend your time. Your boss will decide. Your friends will decide. Your family will decide. And before you know it, your life isn't your own anymore. It's just a collection of other people's expectations. But here's the game changer: saying no puts you back in control. So let's focus on your goals, protect your time, align your life with your values, create a future that excites you. Every time you say no to something that doesn't align with your vision, you're saying yes to the life you actually want. If you feel like you've been living on autopilot, ask yourself, what do I need to start saying no to? Because that's where real change begins. Saying no is one of the most powerful self care strategies you can practice. It builds confidence, it gives you time and energy for what matters. It strengthens relationships, it reduces stress and burnout, and it helps you take control of your life. So if saying no has been difficult for you, start small. Try saying no once this week, just once, to something that isn't serving you. Notice how it feels and remind yourself you are not responsible for making everyone happy at the expense of your own well being. Now, we're going to talk about why saying no is so hard and the incredible benefits that come with it. Let's get practical. How do you actually start saying no without guilt, fear, or feeling rude? Recognizing your limits and priorities. The first step to saying no with confidence is knowing what you actually want to say yes to. If you don't know your limits and priorities, it's easy to let others decide for you. And before you know it, you're overcommitted, exhausted, and doing things that don't align with your values. And here's the exercise. Think about your three top priorities in life right now: your mental and physical health, building your career or business, spending more quality time with loved ones, pursuing personal growth and passion projects. Once you're clear on what matters most, saying no becomes easier because every request you get, you can ask yourself, does this align with my priorities or is it taking me away from them? If it doesn't align, it's no. Simply no. Setting boundaries without guilt. Let's talk about one of the biggest roadblocks: guilt. Many of us feel guilty saying no because we don't want to disappoint people. But here's the truth: your boundaries protect your peace, they are not a burden on others. When you set boundaries, You are not being mean, difficult, or selfish. You are simply choosing to honor your own needs. A mindset shift that helps. Think of boundaries as a way to set expectations. If you don't answer work emails after 7 p.m., that's a boundary. If you don't loan money to friends and family, that's a boundary. If you don't say yes to last minute plans because you value your time, that's a boundary. Boundaries create clear, healthy relationships, and the people who truly care about you will respect them. Many of us struggle with saying no because we've been conditioned to think it's rude or selfish. But here's a perspective shift. Saying no doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care about yourself too. And guess what? You don't need a long explanation. Here are a few simple ways to say no without feeling guilty. Be direct but kind. I really appreciate that you're thinking about me, but I won't be able to commit to this. Use a soft no. That sounds amazing, but I have to pass on it this time. Offer an alternative if you want to. I can't help you with that, but I can connect you with someone who might be able to. Delay a response if needed. Let me think about it and get back to you. This gives you time to decide instead of feeling pressured to say yes immediately. Let's go even deeper with some real life situations and practical ways to say no. Saying no at work. When your boss asks you to take on extra work, thank you for thinking of me, but my current workload is full and I wouldn't be able to give this the attention that it deserves. When a coworker asks for help, but you're overwhelmed, I'd love to help, but I'm at capacity right now. Maybe we can revisit this next week. Saying no to family requests. When family members experience too much from you, or rather expect too much from you, I love you, but I need to prioritize my own responsibilities right now. I won't be able to help you this time. When you're asked to attend an event you don't want to go, I appreciate the invite, but I won't be able to make it. I hope you have a great time. Saying no to friends. When a friend asks you for a favor you're not comfortable with, I wish I could, but I have too much on my plate right now. When friends pressure you into plans you don't want to commit to, that sounds fun, but I really need a quiet night to recharge. Let's catch up another time. Saying no to social events. When someone invites you out and you just don't feel like going, I appreciate the invite, but I don't, or rather, I need some time for myself this weekend. When you're invited to something last minute, I wish I could, but I already have plans, even if those plans are relaxing at home. The takeaway, you don't need to over explain, apologize, or make excuses. Just be clear, direct, and kind. The power of silence and nonverbal cues. Sometimes silence or nonverbal cues are just as powerful. If someone asks you for something unreasonable, take a pause before responding. That silence alone can communicate hesitation. If you receive an invitation via text, you don't have to respond immediately. Give yourself time to decide. If someone is pushing you to commit, repeat yourself firmly. I really can't this time. Then stop talking. The more you explain, the more they'll try to convince you. Nonverbal cues also matter. A slight shake of the head when someone asks for something you don't want to do. A polite smile with a firm no thanks when declining an offer. Standing your ground and not over explaining. Your body tone and your presence reinforce your words, so use them to your advantage. Body language is very much communication. And what you say and your body movements can really be total opposites. So remember that always it's important. Your body language, tone, and presence all reinforce your words, so use them to your advantage. Saying no is a skill, and like any skill, it gets easier with practice. Real life scenarios where saying no is essential. We've talked about why saying no is hard, the benefits of saying no, and how to do it with confidence. Now, let's talk about something just as important. When saying no is an absolute must, because while you're saying no is, let's go back and say it this way. Let's talk about something just as important. When saying no is an absolute must, because while saying no is always a useful skill, there are some situations where it's critical to your well being, your success, and your happiness. So, here's how you can say no professionally and confidently in the workplace. If your workplace is already full, I'd love to help, but I'm currently at capacity. Can we revisit this next week? If your boss gives you an unrealistic deadline, I want to make sure to do this well. Given my current workload, I need more time to complete it properly. Can you adjust the deadline or prioritize this? In relationship, toxic friendships, or manipulative behavior. Now let's talk about personal relationships, because this is where saying no can be the hardest. If a friend only reaches out when they need something, I care about you, but I feel like our friendship is one sided. I can't always be the one giving. If someone is emotionally draining or manipulative, I need some space right now. I can't always be available. And in personal growth, saying no to distractions that hinder your goals. How many times have you told yourself that you'd start that business, write that book, or commit to that workout routine only to get sidetracked by distractions. The truth is, distractions don't always look like bad things. Sometimes they are disguised as social events, extra responsibilities, or opportunities that pull you away from what you really need to be focusing on. If people keep inviting you to events that take away from your focus, I appreciate the invite, but I need to focus on my own personal goals right now. Let's talk about social commitments. That's a big difference between spending time with people you love or feeling obligated to attend events. If you're simply too tired or overwhelmed, I'd love to see you, but I really need a night to recharge. Let's catch up soon. If you don't want to go, but don't want to offend, that sounds great, but I won't be able to make it this time. Hope you have fun. Now, how to handle guilt and pushbacks. Let's start with the guilt. Guilt is one of the biggest reasons people struggle to say no. You might feel like you're letting someone down, hoping unkind, or missing an opportunity to help. But here's the truth. Guilt doesn't mean that you did something wrong. It means you're doing something different. Accept that you can't please everyone. No matter how much you do, someone will always want more. That's not your problem to fix. Now, let's talk about the pushback because let's be honest, not everyone will be happy when you start saying no. Some people will try to guilt trip you, others might get frustrated or try to pressure you into changing your mind. So, let's talk about how when people don't respect your boundaries, because there are many people who will try to walk all over you because they want the control. One of the hardest parts of saying no to realizing that some people will never respect your boundaries. Keep pushing even after you've said no multiple times. Try a guilt trip with phrases like, but I thought you were friends and you never helped me. Only value you when you're doing things for them. And that is the biggest thing to think about. Now, let's talk about how saying no isn't just about setting boundaries. It's about standing your power. Guilt fades when you remind yourself why you're saying no. People's reactions when not your responsibilities. Now, let's talk about what we talked about today. Let's do a quick recap of points that we covered about the power of saying no. We talked about why saying no is so hard, from guilt and social conditioning to the fear of missing out and the fear of disappointing others. Then we explored the incredible benefits of saying no, like gaining more self respect, reducing stress, strengthening relationships, and reclaiming your time and energy. Then I want to challenge you to put this into action. I want you to practice saying no at least once. Maybe it's saying no to commitment that doesn't serve you. That maybe it's setting a boundary with a friend or family member. Or maybe it's simply saying no to your own distraction, like scrolling on your phone when you could be working on your goals. What's one area of your life where you need to say no more often? It is it work? In your personal relationships, with personal growth? Take a moment to think about it. And if you want, send me a message or share your thoughts on social media. I'd love to hear what resonated with you. All right, that's a wrap on today's episode. If you found this valuable, please share it with a friend who needs to hear this. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button so that you never miss another episode.